Welcome back! It's another edition of Our Color on the Comic. Today we got a movie review. Now, it's been a while since we did one of these two. I apologize. I do want to tell you that the previous movies that came out were Justice League Dark and the Teen Titans Judas Contract. If you guys do want to see me cover those movies, please subscribe and comment below. Just let us know, what other stuff you'd like us to review, and that would really help us out. Cool. Okay, now to the task at hand, which I have the unfortunate duty of doing. So, what just came out is this lovely movie right here, Harley Quinn and Batman. I got a lot to say. I'm going to try to fit into a short amount of time so I don't rant like a lunatic because it deeply upset me. So we'll start off with the basics. Let me turn it over to Chanel real quick and she'll give you guys a synopsis of the movie.
From a story by animation legend Bruce Timm comes an all-new DC Universe animated movie. When a break-in at Star Labs leads to a secret dossier being stolen by the gruesome duo of Poison Ivy and Floronic Man, aka Jason Woodrue, it's a green light for crime and mayhem. The Dark Knight and Nightwing are on the case, but when they look to a certain wild card for help, Harley Quinn, recently released from Arkham Asylum and trying to acclimate to life out of the supervillain spotlight, Harley finds herself suiting up and mouthing off once again. So pucker up, Puddin'. Kevin Conroy, Melissa Rauch, and Lauren Lester highlight a stellar cast in this action-packed adventure filled with high-speed chases and brawling bad guys. Who knows, maybe even Batman will have a good time.
Thanks for that. Okay, so this movie just came out. It's probably the first, or this is the second attempt that they've done at bringing back the old Bruce Timm style of animation. Now, I was a big fan of the animated cartoon, as you can see by my shirt. Pretty dope. And I really enjoyed all those seasons of that show. Now, that's one of those shows that's still talked about today because of how influential it was in the comic book world. It's actually where Harley Quinn was born. So I think it was kind of an interesting experiment for them to go back to basics with that and then put her in this movie with him. Now, as for the last few movies, they've been kind of going down a really, really dark path, which, I don't mind. I like a little bit of gore and a little bit of blood, all that stuff. This was their first attempt to go a little bit more on the fun side. So I went into it just thinking, okay, I'm just gonna see what happens. Now, the one thing that was different is we did not have Arlene Sorkin as Harley Quinn, and she's been Harley Quinn for a long time. I mentioned that in our Heroes and Headlocks podcast, if you guys listened to that, and I talked about how, Melissa Rauch was taking over for this movie. Now, she's popular because she's from The Big Bang Theory, and she plays Howard's wife. And she's been on that show a long time, so I think I had watched an interview with her saying that she was definitely a big Harley Quinn fan, and this was definitely an honor for her to do. So when she got the role, I had seen some of the stuff with her doing the voiceovers, and I was like, it wasn't bad, it wasn't a big deal. When we actually watched the movie, I don't know if my opinion was tainted because the script was so bad, or if it was because her performance was bad. I want to say it wasn't her performance, but it's hard to tell. So, to give you the basics of it, the movie did not anywhere get near my expectations. It seemed like they could not decide which format they wanted the movie to be. Did they want it to be funny?
Oh, holy.
It's not so bad. Smells like discipline.
Or did they want it to be serious and gory and more adult? And it kind of teetered on both for a lot of the time. When the movie starts, very first thing you see is the Floronic Man and Poison Ivy, and they're breaking into Star Labs and they're killing people, and you see blood splattering everywhere. And I was like, oh, this is a perfect way to set up this movie. So then they get into the credits, of the opening credits, and it looks like a super cartoony Black Panther type of chase scene where you have little cartoon Harley and little cartoon Batman, and they're just running around. And I thought that was kind of weird, but I was like, whatever, they're going on the fun side. So they get into it, and Nightwing eventually has sex with Harley like pretty early on, and you're just like, that was weird. And I don't know if this is like a new trend where they're trying to take your childhood and then just shove like sex and violence into it to make it cool. So that was a little bit confusing for me, especially since you've never seen Harley and Nightwing have that kind of relationship. So that was definitely a little bit off the rails for me. We then later get to a bar scene where Harley's singing and she's on stage shaking it. You know, I didn't really have a big problem with that, except for I do feel like it's weird they keep trying to force musicals into these really like violent movies. Like in The Killing Joke, for instance, like Joker just breaks out in song and starts doing his little hat thing, and it was not really needed, and I think they added it just to add more content to the story because maybe it was lacking. It was okay. So then they get into this bar brawl, and instead of doing the earlier scene with the blood and the gore and the like intense music, instead they turn it into the old 70s Adam West Batman, where all of a sudden you have like kapow and bleed and bang and ow my balls. I was like, that is the most childish thing I've ever seen, and it didn't fit the tone of the movie. The thing that really horrendously upset me and my wife is that they had one scene in the car where Harley's just farting it up, and like they did it once and I was like, okay, I'll let it slide, and then they did it again and you're just like, really? And they just made everybody seem so like over characterized of themselves. Like Batman seemed a lot funnier than he should be, and Nightwing was like a goofball, and I didn't really like the way that he was portrayed. And then, you know, Harley's supposed to be silly, but I feel like a lot of her thing is she's very manipulative and she's crazy and wacky, and it seems like a lot of that was gone because obviously this is supposed to be reformed Harley, but obviously that never happens. So it was interesting to see how they all played with each other in the scenes, but it just wasn't good. And then my biggest complaint is, so the whole movie they're trying to turn everybody into plants, which, okay, you know, whatever, that's an interesting plot enough. And so Floronic Man and Poison Ivy are going around and they're trying to collect swamp water in order to help speed up the process and make the virus active. So they go see Swamp Thing's area, and they finally are about to complete it, and lo and behold, he pops out for like a 2-second cameo, and he's like, hey everyone, I just want to let you know you're doing bad shit, but I can't interfere, so peace. And then he sinks back into the water like it was the most pointless thing. Now the whole movie, they're trying to figure out a way to stop Floronic Man, and at the very end of the movie, literally the end credit scene, you have Harley just say, well, you guys should have used a match, and then Batman and Nightwing just kiss her on the cheek, and then it does the old like WB like closing with the circle, and then ba 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 da ba. Like it was the most ridiculous slapstick, stupid hour 14 minutes of my life that I wish I could get back. And I truly, truly wanted to enjoy it, so deeply saddens me that I could not. And I was hoping maybe Chanel would feel a little bit differently, but no, we were both on the same page, which usually it will vary a little bit, but we both couldn't find any redeeming qualities out of this movie. Unfortunately, even though the movie was bad, I am happy that we got some stuff, because you know I like to buy the collector bundles that they have at Best Buy. It wasn't bad, I think it was like $25 this time around, and you got the action figure, which we'll get a close-up on. You got this 96-page book called Batman and Harley Quinn Last Call, and I was flipping through it with Chanel, and it seems like it's a different story than the movie, so that's good. I'm hoping it's a little bit better. I saw Catwoman in it, so that's definitely a plus. The thing I'm really excited about, probably the only redeeming part of buying this, is that we got a sneak peek at Gotham by Gaslight. And that's exciting because that's one of those Elsewhere stories that they had back in the day where they would give you like examples of things that would never actually happen, but they're kind of fun one-off stories that you can kind of get into and follow. So this one is about how old school Batman back in the Victorian age when Jack the Ripper was a thing, he faces off with Jack the Ripper, and it's more of like an old school detective story, which is hard to do nowadays because the Bat computer, you can just do-do-do-do, and then everything that you need to know is there. So this is like a lot of old school, like digging through papers, talking to the right people, so it looks like it's going to be really, really good. And I'm hoping, because they always do these sneak peeks in a way that you're like, that looks awesome, I'm totally into that, and then you actually see the movie and you're like, the sneak peek was better. So I'm really hoping Gotham by Gaslight does a great job. To give you my last thought, I would say that we usually do our, rent it or buy it scenario. This time I would say skip it, sorry. But they don't really deserve your money for that, unfortunately. I hope they do better in the future. I'm really okay with them going back to the old style. Other than that, yeah. Well, thanks for joining me. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but hopefully we give you a little bit better review next time. And thanks for joining us.
Don't forget to like us on Facebook and subscribe on our YouTube.